And go. All right. Good afternoon, folks. It is the stroke of noon. And if it's Thursday noon, we are here hosting our People's Trust Company business podcast series. And the uh, the guest of today is Kate Parker from Good Harbor Solutions. It's going to talk about employee benefits, but I have to have a little bit of fun first. I thought I would joke with everybody that today's podcast is sponsored by Routine Nutrition. I had to run lunch over to my daughter real quick, and I don't think everybody will get the love you on theirs. I don't know, you might if they, but I'll tell you, this is the surefire way. If you're getting tired and you're going to take a nap at work, this will stop it in its tracks. I'll be a little fired up by the end of this 30-minute session, Kate. So, Kate Parker, Good Harbor Solutions, talking about employee benefits. Kate, just overall, what's a good definition of employee benefits? Because my mind can go laterally into many nooks and crannies. Where should we be focusing here today?
So that's a great question, Jay. Employee benefits can mean a lot of things to a lot of different businesses. What I really specialize in is customizing benefits that work for a business. Your business should not have to bend to fit into a benefits package. You should be able to customize your benefits to fit you. Some businesses that may mean health insurance, traditional, dental, vision, disability. For others, it may mean thinking outside of the box. Maybe they're too small to offer health insurance, offering, disability or life insurance or things like pet insurance and travel and telehealth. There are so many options that can be classified under the employee benefits category, and we can really customize to fit that business.
Well, you're going to have to remind me to get back to pet insurance because that kind of piqued my interest real quick. But overall, I think employee benefits is a really good way of retaining staff because in this market right now, I mean, employees are pretty scarce, at least the good ones that show up on time and are productive. Everywhere, everybody is looking for help. There's a help wanted in every business in America. And my joke is even the company that prints help wanted signs has a help wanted sign in their window. So
Right.
employee benefits just seems to be a great way to have your people stay with you to attract new employees and more importantly because it's cost you a lot more when you lose a good employee to retain the people that you do have. Can you talk about that real quick?
Absolutely. So, offering employee benefits can be an affordable way for a business to recruit and attract new quality employees, as well as retain and show appreciation through benefits to the employees that they have.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. And, I skipped through a little bit. I must have been the routine nutrition tea talking, but I should have let our people that are watching on Facebook or on LinkedIn that if you want to ask Kate a question, there's two ways you can do it. You can just enter a comment in whatever platform. If you're watching on the Facebook, in the Facebook event, you just enter a comment there and it transforms or transfers over to us and my producer, Lori Elwood, who's next to me, was watching all the comments and she brings them over to me. Or if anybody is brave enough, and I highly recommend this because that's what you're here for, is to get some very specific, exact advice. You do have the opportunity to come on stage with us and ask Kate your question live, face to face, well, at least virtually. So if either of those are of interest to you, if you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn, shoot us a note. I can send you the link to bring you in, and then you can go face to face with Kate. So, boy, Kate, there is a lot there. Actually, I'm going to jump right to the pet question, and then we'll get back on to some other questions, unless we have some visitors or guests that want to ask. You said pet insurance as an employee benefit, and I would have never come up with that. Tell me about that.
Sure. So, I think as benefits evolve, one of the trends that we're seeing right now in building benefits packages are things that fit really outside of the box with healthcare, health insurance just being so expensive and usually unaffordable for a small business. They're thinking like what can we do to offer some benefits that is not going to cost like traditional health insurance or break the bank. One of those things is pet insurance. So pet insurance takes care of our furry loved ones, and it can really help for wellness visits, emergencies, accidents, surgeries. That is a benefit that is very valuable and I think really impactful when you have an employee and they have a pet and something happens and they're looking at, facing a potentially several $1,000 vet bill. If you have a benefit in place for them, whether it's fully employer offered or there's a way that we can set it up to offer or to have it funded by both the employer and the employee, it's just really impactful when they have that coverage and that assistance with that vet bill, especially when it's, not just the routine wellness and shots. It's something major like surgery. I just had a client have a $78,000 surgery on their dog covered with a $500 deductible. So
hold on a second, Kate. Did you say 7 or 8,000 or 78?
78.
Like 22 before $100,000.
Correct.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. A cumulative bill for a surgery, cancer, chemotherapy, going to see specialists at Cornell. Huge bill that was really paid for with the exception of a $500 deductible.
$500 deductible on a $78,000 tab. Wow.
Correct.
Now and that was somebody that was an employer offered that as an employee benefit to their staff. And that was, in this case, what that was.
Yes.
Can you, if I was a person and I was a dog guy at one point, and if my employer had given me the pet insurance and my dog went all through that and I racked up a $78,000 bill, I'd walk back into that business and say, I'm an employee for life. The way that came in. What a very unique and interesting way to offer an additional benefit to your staff. And what a great way to tell them, we're really here for you and we're going to do everything we can for you. We want you happy. We want you productive. And it also takes away some of the stress at work of having to worry about those things at home. So I think that's actually quite genius. And is it very expensive, Kate?
It's not very expensive. Group pet insurance can run around $10 to $15 per employee per month. So very, very affordable versus them going out on their own, which, they can also do direct insurance, but direct pet insurance plans run anywhere from 40 to, I've seen them over $100 for an older dog or a specific breed.
Interesting. Oh, so I'm going to jump. I was going to jump over to a quick question about health insurance because that's probably one of the. If you're in with a smaller company, they probably have that health insurance looming over them of what to do. But we do have a question from the audience. If I'm a solo entrepreneur, can I purchase dental insurance that provides benefits over the cost of the premiums?
Absolutely, you can. So some of the carriers offer direct dental insurance as well as vision. Usually those two are pooled together. And there are several levels of premium or of plans available with varying premiums. And all of them provide benefits over the cost of what the premiums would be on an annual basis.
Excellent. That is good. So, Kate, with all of the employee benefits, let's talk some strategy here. And then we do have somebody that wants to, Steve McFlurry. I'm going to let him in the side door here. That's going to change my layout here, but I will get back to that in 1 second. Sorry that you're kind of cut off, Kate. I had it set up for 2 speakers, and I don't want to stop the thing to bring in 3, but we'll get to you, Steve, in a second. But generally, overall, with employee benefits, what percentage of your customers or what percentage of the industry is health insurance the first and most discussed and evaluated benefit for employees?
So Always when there are over 50 employees, first, they're required to hold or provide health insurance. When it is a business, which the average small business in Vermont is 20 employees or less, that's usually who I'm dealing with. I would say we're trained to think like a good job. You have health insurance, you have dental, you have vision, you have all those traditional things. Um, it is a frequently asked question, but with the availability of Vermont Health Connect and alternative options of funding health insurance, it is a frequent conversation, but it's less of a benefit that most small businesses provide, just due solely to affordability. So, what I typically say is, let's make that a piece of the conversation. I am an enroller also through Vermont Health Connect, so I can be a guide for folks that want assistance navigating that platform. And then let's look at all the other pieces. Health insurance is definitely something that we have to tackle, but it's not always going to be the biggest piece of the puzzle.
So we do have another question from Carrie, but while we're still on health insurance, I think there's a couple of things here that we should hit on while the topic is open. So let's say I'm a new employer, a small business, which a lot of folks in Vermont are, and I've got 1, 2, 3 employees. Do I have to offer those employees health insurance? I thought there was some legislation a few years back that made that somewhat of a mandatory proposition.
You do not have to offer health insurance unless you have 50 or more full-time employees.
So 50 is the mandatory, but I think a
50
lot of
is the
people
mandatory.
under 10 and 15 are offering it. How do they do that?
They can do that. I mean, at any group size, with a group being 2 or more lives, a business definitely can offer health insurance. The problem is most of the time it doesn't financially make sense for the
Mhm.
business to offer health insurance when, depending on the income level of their employees, their employees would qualify for the advanced premium tax credits and subsidies through the state and the federal government. It just doesn't typically financially make sense for a business to offer it and
Okay,
pay
so
100%. So a business offering health insurance, employees would lose their advanced premium tax credit eligibility.
then is the exchange, the Vermont Health Exchange, is that part of the play here of what people evaluate them, whether they want to offer it, or does the employer partner with the health exchange? Can they contribute to the
Absolutely.
premium? How does that, is that where most people do if they're under 50
That
employees?
is what a lot of companies do if they're under 50, or depending on the income level of the employees on average. So, I work with a few smaller businesses that they're very high income earners. Therefore, it does make sense for them to offer health insurance. This is just something that really is evaluated on a business to business, case by case basis.
So what I see around me and my network and my geography here in Northwest Vermont is I'll see a lot of people in the trades and plumbers, electricians, HVAC folks, and their crew, total employees on their business might be anywhere from 6 to 18. And because they're in the trades, well, obviously they're going to have workers' comp, but you don't want to rely on that for health insurance. At least I don't think you do. Maybe you're the expert. You'll tell me otherwise. But um, do you think most of those folks are just putting their people in the exchange, and does the employer contribute to a part of that cost? How does that work?
There are ways that a business can structure to implement part of their premiums being funded by the business. And again, that's really on a case by case basis. So programs such as what's called the QSEHRA, it's a qualified small employer health reimbursement account, can uh, can be a way to set up so that the employer can help fund some of the premiums through the marketplace or even through a spouse's employer. So let's just say there's an employee and their spouse has full family health insurance but has to pay X number of dollars out of their paycheck, there is a way that their employer can help fund some of those premiums.
Wow. So that is interesting that your spouse, you're not on that current company's insurance offering. You're on the spouse's, but yet the company you work for is going to help pay for part of that premium on.
That is one way that we can set it up.
Interesting. So a lot of different options available to folks. Now, within the exchange in Vermont, is there like a good, better, best plan type of format?
There are several options. The majority of them are identical to what's available through MVP or Blue Cross directly for a small business or an individual. So yeah, there are a wide array of benefits programs fit to fit every need and budget.
And down that road, and Carrie, I promise I'm going to get to your question in a second, is there's so much with healthcare. And when you offer those, do you offer them to full-time employees or everybody, regardless on how many hours they work?
Most of the time, businesses are looking at health insurance for full-time employees. Employee benefits can be offered in general to whomever the business deems as benefit eligible. So it has to be classified. So, for example, all full-time employees or all part-time employees could be a class or a management. It just has to be broken out so it's fair and equitable to all employees.
And is it the state of Vermont or federal government that decides what a full-time employee is? I remember like years ago, it used to be 32 hours.
It's actually at the discretion of the business.
Oh, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay, I delayed Carrie too long as it is. Carrie has a question. Is there a minimum number of employees that make up an official small business?
So typically, a business that has 2 or more lives, so 2 or more employees, can qualify for group benefits. With that being said, there are still benefits available for a solopreneur. So if you're just a one man or one woman operation and you want to offer benefits for yourself in some capacity, there is a way you can do that as well. So I literally can work with any business size, whether it's 1 or 10,000.
All right. I know there's a lot there, and I would advise people that are watching this live, or we get a lot more watches post live, to just reach out to Kate and have a personal consultation with her, because it seems like a lot more there than we could solve in 25 minutes here. But let me shift gears a little bit to another topic, because I want to hit a little bit of everything depending on who's watching. We've got a dozen people between Facebook and LinkedIn, and then we'll have a few hundred more later on that will watch this on the recorded channel. That what are you seeing right now is the most popular benefit that employers are offering their employees?
I'm definitely seeing a shift in those traditional benefits. So most small businesses are looking to offer things that are really impactful. Like I was saying, there's an alternative way for an employer to offer health insurance. So setting up what's called an ICHRA or a QSERA, or those alternative ways of funding health insurance dollars versus just offering the traditional health insurance. Also, those benefits like voluntary benefits, so short-term disability, cancer. Cancer is something that we're seeing a huge boom in. Statistically, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 2 men will have cancer. There is a way to protect yourself financially through having a cancer protection plan. That is something that's really, really impactful when you have a cancer diagnosis or even screening. There are benefits that will pay yearly for just going to the doctor and getting your routine wellness, your cancer screening. Just good job going to the doctor. Here's, $150 for that colonoscopy or that mammogram that you had to go through. So the other benefits would be, like I was saying, pet insurance, travel insurance, kind of thinking really outside of the box, really to tailor to the business. Another one we're seeing a huge boom in is telemedicine. So where people want to see a doctor virtually, there is a way to see a physician literally clicking on a link, and within 60 seconds you are on a Zoom with a licensed physician. That can be for, ear infections. It can help with employees, especially employees who are parents, that if they think their child might have strep throat, but you don't want to take the time off from work to bring the kid to the doctor, you can literally Zoom with a doctor. The doctor will check the child out virtually and then call in a prescription for an antibiotic if they think it's, just an example of strep throat. That saves your employee from taking time off to bring the child to the doctor. It saves those co-pays. That can all be offered at no cost to the employee. So those are really becoming very popular.
That sounds incredibly efficient. And as myself, as a parent, especially when the child was under, 10 or 12, there's a lot of, bumps in the night that every little creak you wonder, and your kid starts running a fever. And when do you decide to, and it's 1 a.m. You can't really call your pediatrician up, and then now you're evaluating yourself of, all right, when her temperature gets to 104, we're going to the ER and all
Right.
of those things. But being able to just click and bounce an idea off somebody live like that, that seems like I've not heard of that. And I'm assuming that they can collaborate with your regular doctor, and if a prescription was or a diagnosis, they could input it manually or electronically, however.
Absolutely. Yeah. They would be able to coordinate with your primary care physician. And then if it is something that is more serious than a telemedicine visit, that obviously they can refer you to your primary care who can help you get set up with a specialist or, seek further treatment.
Boy, that is super cool. That would have saved me quite a few sleepless nights as I was deciding what to do back then. So we've got another question from a viewer. Carrie has said, if business owners have benefits in place, but they want to switch, how easy is that process? And do you help with the transition?
So, absolutely, I can help with the transition. One of the big pieces of what I do is redistributing dollars. So maybe the business has offered traditional health insurance and it's just become very unaffordable. We're seeing 18 to 25% increases on an annual basis with traditional health insurance. And a business wants a way to navigate around those increases or just maybe make a more robust benefits package. All of their dollars are going towards one benefit. How do we take the dollars and split it up so they can get much more benefits for their dollar? So I can definitely help. That process is usually pretty easy. I mean, there's a lot of factors that come into play. There's just a lot of decisions that need to be made, but I can help guide throughout the whole process. And then also, as far as the timing is concerned, they really just have to be careful of if it's like a pre-tax benefit to make sure that there are certain times of the year that they can change benefits. So that's just something that we would have to be mindful of while we're going through that process.
Gotcha. So, made me think of when you were talking about switching with somebody, and you kind of did an evaluation of what benefits they had in there, and to see whether or not that was still a good, efficient method of offering benefits. And now, in that case, that you were, it felt to me like you were referring to somebody that said, "Boy, my X benefit has just gotten out of control, and too much money is going there. It's kind of like a 911 call. I got to call you in. I got to do something because right now the option is spend more money or cut it out altogether." It sounds to me like people should reach out to you a little bit earlier than when it's do or die moment, and just have an overview of what they're offering, and a benefits checkup. Wouldn't that seem more prudent instead of waiting?
100%. So my current clients, I recommend that we meet at least annually just to do a check-in, just do a temperature gauge of, is this still working? Are your employees using it? Do they know how to use it? Are they filing claims? If we can jump back to where I was talking about the wellness benefits, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen a business or an employee have a wellness benefit, and then they've had their policy for 10 years and they've never filed it. I can help them file those claims and get paid out. But definitely, if a business is reevaluating, if anyone can get it done at the last minute, it's me. And I actually enjoy those situations where, you have a budget or you have something that's not working, and let's completely redistribute those dollars and make it work. I thrive. That's my favorite part of what I do. That's where I thrive. For example, I'm working with a business now who is spending about $900 a month just in health insurance, and for less than 450, we're doing a health insurance reimbursement and a whole bunch of other benefits, and cutting their budget literally in half and making a way more robust benefits package.
So that customer that you're talking about went from offering one benefit to having it reevaluated and now offering 3 or 4 more different ones,
We're offering 8 for
8
half
different
of the
benefits
budget of just one.
for half the budget. I bet
Yep.
they said, "I wish I had talked to you earlier."
Years ago, yes.
Boy, there is a lot here. I know that we signed you up for 25 minutes. Do you mind hanging on a couple more minutes? I just
Sure.
have questions myself, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
Oh, I appreciate that greatly, Kate, of taking, I know your time's valuable, but there's so much here. Employee benefits can be a health insurance, it could be dental, it can be vision, it can be cancer, it can be pet insurance. And you mentioned trip insurance, and I'm sure I only touched a portion of it. What's trip insurance?
So travel insurance, I'm sure you've seen, when you're paying on Priceline or, Travelocity or your whatever your preferred site engine or search engine, or when you're working with a travel advisor and they say, do you want to have insurance to cover the cost of your trip? I can also put travel insurance as an employee benefit. That is very common amongst more executives that travel a lot for business, but it can be so common because it can cover business travel, personal travel, the family trip to Disney, or the, business trip to Tokyo or wherever. Covers you anywhere in the world. I actually had a client they were on vacation and they had their catalytic converter cut out of the underneath of their rental car. And the travel insurance company paid for the cost to repair it, the loss of use for the rental car company. It's all these things that you don't think of that can be really costly, and you can have insurance to protect against that.
So that's crazy because when I am booking a plane ticket and they give you the scare tactic of this is your last chance to buy insurance and your trip could be ruined,
Mhm.
all I'm thinking about is weather or something like that, wiping that trip out, and then the insurance company is going to make me whole for the plane ticket or the hotel. But it sounds like it's much more than just that.
Yeah, there's baggage, loss of use, trip interruption. If you're on a trip and get a phone call that your mom's in the hospital and you need to rush home, it can help with offsetting those costs. There's any real reason that you would need to delay your trip, or your rental car gets stolen, anything that can happen. Also, if you're traveling, you don't really have to even be traveling to a risky place, but I had someone in rural Uganda backpacking, fell and broke her pelvis. Her bill was $500,000 to get airlifted to Germany, back to DC, have surgery, and she was covered at 100% of that minus a $50 deductible. So it can definitely has its advantages to be protected.
That is crazy. It sounds like they had to get evacuated by Black Hawk helicopter for the U.S.
Pretty much.
military.
I have one of the companies that I work with has like a SWAT team. They're retired or ex-military law enforcement that will literally go in and get you wherever you are that you need to be
Oh,
evacuated
you got a
from.
couple ex-military contractors.
I joke that it's like, do you want Liam Neeson to come get you in that movie, or do you want like Jake from State Farm? I'll take Liam Neeson.
That's hilarious. Hey, we have another question, Kate. It's what if your HR department is already swamped and they have a ton of employees to enroll? What is the workaround?
The workaround is working with a broker who does their job. I cannot, this is one of my biggest frustrations, and I can't even tell you how many times it happens that I see the business owner or the HR director doing the job of the insurance broker. You're working with an advisor, you're working with a broker to handle all of this. They should be handling it. So when a client works with me, they basically make the decision of what they want to offer. I handle all of the enrollments, everything from the employees, and then I communicate back to them at this is the end of the day. This is how much needs to come out of their paycheck. They should not have to be ready to sit for their insurance licensing exam at the end of the open enrollment period. Like, your broker should be doing their job.
And honestly, when I read that question, I didn't even understand what the question was. So I just read it word for word on the chat, hoping you would know what it was. But now listening to you, I kind of started thinking, because part of this is, you own a business and you've got some people working for you and you got to do some benefits for them. That brings it to a whole new level of you're a business large enough that you have an HR director. And so here we are talking about employee benefits for employee retention or attraction of an employee, but yet some people in their company, the HR department is doing more than they should. So they probably need another employee, but they don't. If they hire you,
Right.
you're taking all the workload off from the HR director or the HR employee and doing what you had kind of said. I kind of snickered when you said doing your job. I had no idea that it was that deep of the level of service that you provide that alleviates hours off from other HR directors and employees' table.
100%. I literally do every step along, throughout the process with as little or as much or as little hands on as the owner or the HR director wants to have. They can certainly be involved, but I meet with every single employee individually. I do the enrollment process. I come to them at the end of the day and say, we're done. This is what they did. This is how much it's going to cost you. This is how much you need to set up on taking out of their paycheck. That really should be it. Working with a broker should take all of the stress and pressure off of the business owner and the HR director.
So now these companies don't need to hire a second person. They just need to shop from you. Huh.
Yes.
That is fantastic. I had no idea that. So, we're over the 30-minute now, Mark, Kate, and I'm going to feel guilty if I keep you here much longer. But so there's probably a couple of scenarios where people should instantly just reach out to you. The smaller employers or solopreneurs that finally need to get some benefits, the mid-size or small business in that 15 to 30, and then the over that. I mean, what's the best place? How do they come in contact with you? How's the best place to start? What do they do? Just call you up and say, hey, I'm not really sure what's going on. Can you just give me a complimentary evaluation of what I have? Make some recommendations. If I like it, I buy.
Absolutely. So typically my first meeting with a business is question and answer. So I go through and learn a little bit more about your business. What do you have now for benefit? What's working? What's not? Do you have a budget for next you need to stick with? Like, all of these things are factors. And then I go to work and get quotes and build a couple, again, go through the process, make decisions. And then whatever way a business decides they want to go, I can help implement the whole thing. Another thing to note is two things. I've seen businesses get overwhelmed and they're like, oh, we're too small. We don't want to offer benefits. No company is too small. I can work with one individual. You don't have to be overwhelmed. I explain things thoroughly and usually I feel very simply in a way to understand. And then this can change. So let's just say we put something in and 6 months from now, you're like, this really just isn't working, we change it. Businesses, like I said in the beginning, benefits should evolve and bend to meet the business where they're at now with the number of employees, with a budget, with how much you can put into benefits, not the other way around.
Very cool. So, what's the size range of businesses that you deal with, from one employee to how many?
Thousands. My biggest employer has just shy of 5,000 employees. My smallest has one. Where I say is kind of my preferred ideal business size is the less than 50 employees, because that's where we can get really, really, really creative. But I can work with any business size, and I have the platforms for those larger business, like that larger business that's 5,000 employees in 8 states. I have help. So it's not just me meeting with 5,000 employees. I have a team in multiple different states that are ready to help me with those employees.
That is absolutely amazing. What a great resource, and I can't think of anybody that shouldn't talk to you. What a fantastic offering that you have, and you're helping the businesses by keeping their people happy, keeping them comfortable, keeping them staying put, and attracting new employees. That's absolutely fantastic, Kate. Well, I see we're at 36 minutes here, and I'm going to feel guilty if I keep you a minute longer. So I want to thank you for coming on. What's
You're
the
so welcome.
easiest
Thank you for having me.
What's the easiest way to contact you, with phone, email?
Either is totally fine. Phone or email, text,
Why don't you rattle
carrier
those off
pigeon.
real quick, or maybe
So
slowly, so the people at home can write it
sure.
down. But
So my cell number is 802-363-3620. And my email is kate@ghrsolutions.com. And I, like Jay mentioned, I do offer complimentary, no cost review of benefits. I can come to you. My office is in Burlington, very flexible.
most excellent. Thank you, Kate. I really appreciate you coming on, and I want to thank everybody for watching. If you're here live, appreciate it, and we'll get many more people on the recorded version of this in the weeks to come. And those of you that have caught this before the next session, I believe we have next week off because it's a federal holiday. Let me check my sundial device here real quick. And then I believe on the 26th, we have a expert bookkeeper coming in, Kayla Cobble, who runs a fantastic bookkeeping service with a lot of resources there. She'll be here at noon on Thursday, the 26th, to talk about all of the things of when you outsource your bookkeeping, and when you do it yourself, and when you decide to source it out then. So feel free to hop back on any one of these channels and catch us then. And in the meantime, I'm Jay Cummings, a Business Development Officer, Marketing Director at People's Trust Company, where we love bringing you information and education through every channel that we can come up with. And our podcast, I believe this is number 4, Kate. So we're still in the single digits, but I hope we can get you to come back, because I think there was a lot more information that we did not cover that people need to learn about. But those of you that want to know what that is now, reach out to Kate by email, reach out to Kate by text. I'm sure she'll take care of you. And with that, I am going to wish everyone a happy week. And for the dads out there, happy Father's Day. And we will see everybody in 2 weeks at noon o'clock at the People's Trust Company podcast business channel. Thanks, everyone.